Okay.
Okay, everyone. It is time for me to give you my take on this man's rig. I have been here for approximately about an hour and a half so far. So the idea here is to give you guys my personal take on what this man has built. Okay, I use my title playlist to assess the system because these are songs that are close to me that I've heard, throughout the past 2-3 years. So it's easier for me to understand what the system is or isn't doing. Okay, so let me go over first what I found impressive about the system. The number one thing that immediately stood out from his system was smoothness. I mean, we blasted the hell out of the system, and I not once or twice or 3 times did I feel like I needed to leave the room.
We didn't even blast it.
Yeah. Maybe it's, yeah, I try to dial it in, guys, at 82 decibel average volume level, so you know, before when we started to have the same reference points. Same volume levels. So the sound is completely smooth. I didn't find a single song where I felt, ouch, like, it was starting to get to me. I mean, I could have kept going for another hour to 2 hours. So definitely going to say that what Mike was stating in my room was accurate. His system is without a doubt smooth. That to me was, it kind of made me not analyze the presentation. It just made me flow. It just connected with me. It just, song after song after song, my mind didn't go into detective mode. So the smoothness, man, is unbelievable here. Like, freaking believable. And I know it's not just the speakers. It's a combination of the room, the treatment. I mean, everything's playing a role in here. Sure. I mean, so there's absolutely no question about that. Second thing that I found extremely impressive was, of course, it's a huge soundstage. I mean, it is like I moved from the 40th row up until all the way up to the second row of the sound. Yeah. I got closer. It was huge. I mean, it really is a massive canvas. Like, the presentation opens up and you are there feeling like you're inside the music. So I really was impressed because I have owned panels before, and I guess I just never heard him sound this big. I mean, I never have heard a panel sound this massive. And of course, they're very far apart. So they're approximately how far apart? Like 14,
12
feet?
Well, yeah, 14 tweeters. Yeah.
And the tweeters are on the outside of the panel, not
Yep.
the inside. Of course, I haven't had subwoofers, which add more body and more layering.
For sure.
So that helps, right, with the whole presentation.
For sure.
But I really felt like, from all the different variations of panels that I've heard, I have never heard something sound this coherent. Panels with woofers. I mean, it really sounds very, very perfectly tuned. Like, to your point, you've spent a lot of hours here. And something that I need to say was the fact that he kept cranking up the volume as we went through different songs, because you guys know some songs are recorded louder than others. So you need to sometimes compensate, right? What was interesting to me is I never felt like the subs got out of hand, to the point that you need to go back and start turning the subs down constantly, like the whole EQ of the subs.
No.
You never had to do that. And to me, that was pretty cool to see that songs that I know would have had a tremendous amount of bass, with his system, I felt like that wasn't the case. Yeah, you got a little more bass, but it was never, okay, turn the bass down. Okay, we lost the bass in the next song, turn it up again. We never had to do that with him. And I thought that was pretty impressive. And again, you guys just saw all the stuff that he's got behind. I mean, he's got this thing completely tuned to the T. So to me, kudos to that, man. That was impressive. I have not heard that combination done this way. So that just shows me, how far you've gotten here. Now, the last thing I want to say that I found, the mids. I mean, the mids are in the middle, but the speakers are nowhere to be found. They're just there. And I thought for a minute, he has stuff between his system. He has the components you guys just saw, right? So, we always hear this whole theory of, you shouldn't have anything between the speakers because it interacts with the mid-range. And maybe we wouldn't know unless we took everything from the middle completely out of the room, right? Maybe we would know how much better it could be. But I got to tell you, what I heard in terms of the mid-range was phenomenal. I mean, the mid-range was just hanging there, like literally like an act of magic, just floating in the air.
Although something that's interesting to know is this mid-range here is a very small slice of the frequency spectrum. It's supporting the crossover point. So we got the crossover point really between the tweeter and the woofer, and then the mid-range just brings that line up a little bit. It's an important part. It's crucial, but it doesn't do very much. So if we were to listen and we were to turn off each amp and we were to listen to how much that mid's doing, it's not doing that much, but it supports everything, the things around it.
One learning lesson here, guys, is the fact that I've always been critical about using subs with speakers because of that integration that we always hear. It's not perfect. I know people, I've been talking to someone, he's probably one of my subscribers, he has Rockport Lyras, and he's tried different subs, RELs, I think he's probably tried other brands, and he just gave up. He couldn't get them to sound right.
Yeah.
He couldn't get them to
Takes a long time, man.
Right.
And patience. Big time.
Yeah, and so to hear what you did, it definitely just teaches me that it is very difficult to have a conventional box type speaker compete with a separate array of subs with a panel, or even just subs and a box speaker.
Yeah.
It is impossible to get that level of layering, the body, the presence in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, having owned the XLFs, and they had tremendous bass in my room, it doesn't compare to this. Like, it just not even close. Like, this is next level. The punch in the gut that you get here, just the whack, just everything, the wow effect is something that, it's been a while since that I've heard something this impressive, you know.
Yeah,
so
cool.
That just teaches me that it can be done.
Yeah.
It gives me actually a lot of room for thought for me to perhaps incorporate some subs at some point in my own rig. Now, of course, I've always been vocal about this. No product is perfect. Everything has a pro and a con. And I'm about to go over what I find, I wouldn't call critical areas, but I would say things that I didn't see, or I didn't hear, or perhaps I wish it did a little more of this or a little bit of that. So let me go over those things right now. Okay, so things that I thought the system probably didn't, things that didn't stand out as much, okay? I would say, and I don't know if it's because we're here next to this wall. I don't know. I'm just saying. But at times I knew songs that I had this effect that things were happening right here behind me. Again, I don't know if maybe it's not the system, maybe we're too close to the wall. I don't know. But I know songs that I've had where I heard just flashes of the presentation happening here. I didn't get that. It is very smooth. And at the same time, that smoothness didn't allow for me to get that MRI machine feeling, which is something that you said about my system. All these bells and whistles that distract you are not as apparent here.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when I'm listening to a song here, in my system, it's like flashlights, like this, on both speakers.
Yep.
Very intense, very dense, right? So it was a little more subdued here. Also, and I don't know, again, if it's the room or not, I didn't feel like I found anything happening. I mean, the mid-range was beautiful, but behind the speakers, with some of these songs, I hear guitars hanging like they are behind the speaker. And again, I do not know if it's because the panel is large, that it doesn't allow me to hear behind it. But those are things that I couldn't pinpoint. I couldn't zoom in on them as I was listening to songs. And I know there were instruments that are, it's like a different dimension behind the speaker.
Right, I got you.
I don't know if it's the fact the speaker is tall, so it doesn't allow me to listen over them, behind them.
So what is, are you explaining like the guitar sounds farther back?
Right, on mine, I'll hear on mine, like you got the line between the speakers, you got what's happening in front of the speakers, and then you got what's happening behind the speakers.
Right, yeah.
Behind the speakers, I didn't find that I picked up as much things happening. Not to say that it wasn't there. Right, but I don't know if it's because of the panel being so tall that it doesn't, or maybe I'm hearing over my speakers because they're right now they're shorter, so now I can hear behind them better. I don't know what it is, but those are things that I found that were areas where they were not as apparent to me.
Right,
Okay, so Holistically speaking, though, the system is kick-ass. I'm not saying that I was
No, I got
impressed.
you.
I'm hands down impressed with the system. I have to be critical. So,
Well, sure,
you know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
have to nitpick on something. And those are areas that I feel that, it wasn't. Now, another thing is, and of course, this could be due to the fact that the system is very smooth and tuned to be just pleasurable, just allows you, it's butter smooth, just hours and hours of playback time. There were times in which I probably wish it would have had a little more bite with certain instrumentation that it didn't do. And I'm hearing it more now, by the way, with the Beryllium Tweeter. A little more plucking, a lot more intense plucking of the guitars, things like that. Not to say that it wasn't there, but maybe not to the nth degree as a Beryllium Tweeter would do.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
You get me?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So-
It's got bite, but you just have to turn it up
Got it.
to get the bite.
Understood.
If the lower you keep it, the more mellow it is. But when we want bite, we just turn it up, and we're going to get the bite. You can't listen at a lower listening level and get the bite.
And
It
that-
doesn't happen like that.
That would be the next criticism. The low level listening of this setup.
Yes.
It might be. Do you think it might be a little compromise when you're doing a little too low volumes? Where
For the bite, like the leading edge, yeah, for sure.
Okay,
But what you
got it.
do for that, I have this tuned to play at high volume. So
Got
I would
it.
just boost the mid in the crossover right
Got it,
there.
got it.
I'd boost that mid a little bit,
And you'll get all
and
those
then
bells
at
and
the
whistles.
lower volume, we'd get that bite. But if we turned it up too
It'll be
loud,
too
it would
much.
hurt.
Yeah.
It'd be too much.
So-
So I have this system set so we can go pedal to the metal
Got it.
and not kill our ears.
So,
You know?
and that would be my final criticism of the system. You got to keep in mind one thing about this system, and it's great. It's an awesome system, by the way. So, I like what I heard.
Cheers.
However, this man is a chef in the kitchen right now. Okay, this is not something that you're going to be able to achieve on your own. Okay, what he's built here is, to his point, it's very specific, and he spent a ton of hours dialing this system. Don't think for a second that you're going to buy analysis speakers.
Yeah.
These ribbons, take him home,
Yeah.
put his DAC and the amps, and you got what he's got.
Yeah.
I promise you, do not think for 1 second what he has here is literally plug and play in your home. It's not.
no.
So unless you buy
at all.
everything he's got here, and he flies into your home and spends a week tuning the system, forget about getting what
I
he's
could
got
do
here.
it in 2 days.
But but it takes. You saw 11 pieces here.
Sure.
So this is a very complex system for the average Joe. So for most of you guys who are trying to build a simple system that sounds kick-ass, this is not really that system. To me,
Absolutely
this is not a speaker, preamplifier, amplifier, source, and cables. This is not that system. As far as panels, as far as woofers, and the integration of both, I have not heard a better presentation than his, including at shows. I feel that what you've done, and to be fair, at shows, you really don't have many hours.
That's
you really
true.
don't have a lot of time.
Totally fair.
You have
Yeah.
spent time in the room here. I mean, you have positioned the speakers perfectly. I mean,
yeah.
you have everything. At the show, you got to do what you can.
In like a day.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so that's my defense for those that work hard at shows to put together this level of presentation.
It's hard. For
It's
sure.
very hard.
Yeah.
But those of you who have been in his room definitely can tell you absolutely impressed. So you guys must have been just as impressed. Going forward, of course, I want to see what you end up doing. What other things you got? What tricks you got up your sleeve? As far as what you're thinking about doing.
I know. Where do you take it, right?
No, it's hard, man. It's hard. I mean, listen, it gets to a point, to be honest, to the point that you are just looking to burn money at times, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of us are just, okay, we got $5,000. What can we get?
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
we start finding ideas, and then you realize you're just chasing your tail. You really didn't make any improvements. All you did is change the flavor, perhaps, but it really didn't get any better.
Or you're after a look,
Yeah,
right? This
yeah.
isn't really pretty.
Right,
You
right,
know? I
exactly,
mean, this
exactly.
is just like fugly,
It's
really.
a dedicated room.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
needs a dedicated room. Yeah.
But a Magico, those things are magnificent looking, man. They're so badass. You can make such a cool decor using some of those other brands.
Right.
You can't compete with that look. That's what my last vid I was saying.
Yeah, I rated
it's
Magical the
like-
best looking. The M6s to me and the M3s
They're
are
gorgeous,
the best
dude.
looking speakers
Yeah.
I've owned. I mean,
they're
there's no-
badass. They look tough.
Right.
The design is there.
So this is not about aesthetics. This is about functionality. This
Yeah.
is about the presentation.
Yeah.
This man doesn't care about whether it looks pretty or it doesn't. And I know for some of you guys that have those beautiful homes with, these gorgeous living rooms, looks matter. And that's fine. This simply isn't applicable. This isn't simply for you unless you have a dedicated room where you want to really maximize the presentation, regardless of what it takes, regardless of how funky the system may look or the boxes that you may have around to make things happen. I can tell you that this has been that learning experience. It's almost like more of a lab than mine is because of what I see behind. I mean, you guys can't see everything, but there is a lot of things happening. Lines, 240 volt outlets, dedicated panel for his current. I mean, there are a lot of things happening here that I know all help 1% at a time to deliver the finished product, which is, has been mind-boggling here. So the takeaway for me in closing is I was more impressed than I thought I was going to be. And that is because the system is a different presentation than what I'm hearing at home. Mine isn't, it couldn't be more opposite what we have.
Right.
It couldn't be more opposite. I mean, his is smooth, relaxed, and it's about sitting down after a long day at work and just pushing play. And I don't want to be distracted with nothing. I don't want to be
I
thinking
just fall
about
asleep
nothing.
right here, yeah, or
You
whatever.
could.
Yeah.
I mean, you could. And mine is more like an MRI machine, as I mentioned to you, as he said it, as an X-ray machine. Mine, I want to extract every single tiny thing that's there, and that comes at a price. And the price is that you're going to hear poor recordings sound not so good. In his system, poor recordings sound good. That's the reality. They sound good. They're bearable. You can play them at any volume, and they sound pretty impressive. Mine, not so much. So you, the audiophile, you are the one who has to decide what you're after.
Absolutely.
I mean, if what you're after
Absolutely.
is completely being submerged and not be punished for playing bad recordings from the 80s and 90s and the 70s,
Yeah.
then this is it. If you're looking for just nothing but the facts, I want the honest truth. Give it to me. It would be more of what I have at home.
Yeah, mastering rig was what I said.
Yeah.
Because they're listening to the mix, right?
Yep.
And they're listening to it, and they're tweaking just little bits. They have to hear every little teeny,
Yep.
excruciating detail,
Yep.
because they're doing the final touches on
Right.
it,
Right.
And so you need a scientific look at it,
Right.
almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
like
That's-
scientific medical level,
Yours looks at the whole landscape, and if it's green grass and trees, it gives you that beautiful grass
Yeah.
and that landscape with the trees. I want to see the bees on the trees,
The little
and I
bugs
want to
hanging up.
see the
Yeah.
ants on the freaking grass,
Yeah.
and that is and then you get distracted because you see these tiny things on the grass,
Yes,
and
yes.
yours is looking at the whole grass with the trees
Yes.
and the river.
Yes, yes.
You get me?
Yep, yep.
So that's kind of like the best way to articulate, guys, what we have here. So I'm going to have an opportunity, hopefully, to display a new amplifier soon with a preamplifier you guys have not seen. Stay tuned for that.
I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't. This is how I escape daily life's bullshit. Right? Is coming in here. So I want it to be a decompression chamber.
Got you, yeah.
Yeah.
I try to build systems that are probably more doable for the end user, meaning
Sure.
a combination of parts, if you will, that most people can go out there and buy. For instance, right now I have demoed the Mephistos with the VAC Master preamplifier, and a lot of people are actually emailing me about that combination. So I do things that you can go out there and put together, right? And that's what I offer through my consultation service is that extra set of ears that I can tell you, hey, no, that doesn't do well. Those two combinations are terrible. I've tried them. It doesn't work. Boulder doesn't work with that. Griffin doesn't work with this. And Paslum doesn't work with this. I try to just give people that extra added value so that they don't have to do this. Guys, it's been a pleasure spending time in this man's home.
Yes.
I got a long drive to Florida. I appreciate you guys for following me and him, and hopefully we can do this again in the near future.
Yeah, man, it's
Longer,
cool.
more time to spend here and swap out components and hear a lot more from your rig.
We're close, man.
And yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you're going to be at the Florida Audio Expo or not.
I haven't decided yet, but yeah.
It's happening in
In a
be
couple
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In 2
yeah.
weeks. So So I hope to see some of you guys at the Florida Audio Expo. Okay. Until next time. Peace.
Peace out. See you.